Hello, everyone. It's me, Coach Rob, again, coming at you from the Bro Joe studio with the post-recording pre-episode address, I suppose. I feel very fortunate to have had another special guest on this week, being my friend and client, Bree. We had a great conversation about our history of coaching together, fitness overall, a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons. But if you are someone who has even a passing interest in the local literature or reading scene, you are just a book lover, you're going to want to keep listening so you can get the details on Bree's Midwest Bookish Fest that she is the founder of. It's set up to be a real barn burner of an event this summer. So listen all the way through, guys. And as always, thanks for listening. Keep questing. And here's the jump. Welcome back to the RF Fitness Podcast, brought to you by rffitness.net, your source for online coaching built for and by busy grown-ups just like you, who are on the quest for health and strength in everyday life. I am your host, Rob Finlayson, certified older brother, fitness coach, and quest giver. Today, I am here with my special guest and co-host,
Bree.
Yay!
Hello.
Hello, Bree.
Hi.
Bree's a friend of mine, a client, and a Questie. We've worked together for years. Bree, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Oh my gosh. Hi. Hello. There's so much. Sometimes I feel like I do too much, and then I'm
Right?
like, what is there to talk about me? Um, so I guess as for trade, I am a lead video technician in the audio video events world. Essentially, I travel the country an ungodly amount
Yes.
and work in various different types of events. I mean, some of them are your regular corporate or your medical events. They're pretty boring, but sometimes I get the really fun anime or gaming pop culture conventions that are multiple days. They're tons of fun.
Cool.
And personally, like, I am a huge reader. If you can't tell, if you're watching this, there's a bunch of books behind me. And also just an avid D&D player. It's a little bit of a problem.
I don't know
how much I love it. Yeah. I think that's a good basis.
That's a good starting base. Yeah. What's I know you've covered some pretty cool events in the past. So do you have like a favorite one that you've gone to and gotten to work with?
My absolute favorite one, I do it every year, and I have been on it since 2018, is Anime Central in Chicago.
Okay.
That one, it's just like, I'm not a huge anime person, but still the culture and the people are so good and everybody's so nice. And there's so many different aspects to it. So they have like panels that go on, they have concerts that happen, which the ratings,
Really?
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. And they also do one of my favorite things that I love seeing at other conventions too, but they call it like a masquerade ball. But what it is like showcasing cosplayers and their outfits.
Oh, cool.
And it's like a contest essentially. So like the crowd cheers, there's guests, there's judges. It's a whole thing. It is so much fun to see how creative people are and how, like, it's insane the detail that people go into.
Yeah. You have done a little bit of cosplay yourself. I know because you've come to my birthday parties in costume, which is a thing that I tell people to do, by the way, listeners. If you haven't been invited to Ragnarok in the past, one, I'm sorry. But it is explicitly supposed to be a theme party. So you've done a little bit of that yourself too, right? I know it's like the purple girl. That's all I know about it. I know it's a character from a book.
Yes. So I would say that I cosplay. So it's from Shadow and Bone, the book series Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. It's part of. I wear a kefta, and it's their Durast style of kefta. So the Durast are essentially a certain. I'll say like. I don't know. It's kind of like the 4 elements of like The Last Airbender, but like the Durast work in a specific area, so they can mend gems and they can create things out of stone and rock and gems and things like that. But their colors are purple, and I actually based the cosplay off of one of the characters named David. And I had it created based off of his palace kefta that he wears in the show. And
Ooh.
I did not make it myself. The person who
Oh,
made
okay.
it did an absolutely amazing job. She was wonderful to work with.
Yeah.
She did all of it because
Sure.
I'm not that kind of crafter.
Sure. Okay. But so most of our friendship has been based on Dungeons and Dragons. I was just saying we grew out of Dungeons and Dragons originally, right? Because we
Yeah.
first met, we were connected through Tristan's game in
Yeah.
like 2020, wasn't it?
Yeah, when the pandemic hit and we were
Big
all locked
Panda.
down, we started that big campaign.
Yep, during the big parallelogram of
Yeah.
2020, we sat down at our computers to play nerd games on the internet because it was better than real
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Yeah,
That hasn't
exactly.
changed. D&D is still better than real life, so that's why I don't think it's
Oh
problematic
yeah.
to play an awful lot of it. But yeah, that was like 5 years ago now. We've since we're out of that game. We've played a little bit here and there, but mostly now what we do together is this fitness coaching thing. So I want to talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that
Yeah. Absolutely.
because you've been very active in the Discord. If you've listened to the show before, you've probably heard me mention friend of the show Bree. That's you. You're a friend of the show, Bree. You're
Yay.
like low key a celebrity as far as I'm concerned for like you're like the spokesperson for like what can be accomplished with D20 athletics or RF fitness as I am now because you've been so into it. And what's been really exciting for me is not just how much like uh how much you've gotten done and accomplished in the past few years since we've been training together either one-on-one or on teams or with quest groups in the small group, but how much you communicate to me like it's different, like the way you
Mhm.
feel it and the way you approach it now, it feels very different than what it was before. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about like before doing the training online with me, what was your relationship with fitness like then?
I definitely so first off, I just realized that it's almost like the 5 years anniversary of knowing each other because
God, you're
the
right.
yeah, you said that and I was like, the country would have shut
It's
down
like
in a
right
few
now, yeah.
days.
Oh
Like,
my God.
um, but with that in mind, I want to say personally, in high school, I had a healthy relationship with working out because
Mhm.
that was when I did Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and Krav Maga
Oh yeah.
and Muay Thai kickboxing. Like I was really active in it. Um, and then it died off because it got a little too expensive.
Yeah.
But when I was in college, I did judo and I loved it a ton. It
Awesome.
was the best thing ever. And I ran a lot in high school and whatnot. I ran 2 5Ks. I ran one in high school. I actually the one I ran in high school was the one I broke my hip running,
Wow.
and then I ran another one in college.
Damn.
Don't recommend. I
No.
mean, you can run the 5K, but like, don't do what I did, which was not prepare for the course, which
Oh.
was uphill.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was like an uphill and a downhill and
Yeah.
like kind of windy roads because I grew up in Pennsylvania, so there's a lot of mountains and
Sure.
whatnot. And so that was the course, and I didn't train for that. And it was just
Uh,
the pressure and the stress on
yeah.
my hips that caused a fracture in my hip.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, but I still kept up with fitness and whatnot.
Mhm.
However, when I moved, I had like dropped out of college and
Mhm.
lived in Maryland for a little bit. And I fell off the working out wheel. And then I moved to Minnesota and I really fell off. And I
Mm.
wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't like being active or being fit or whatever. And I feel like I just had like this hate relationship
Okay.
to fitness and working out because I was like so busy with work. And I'm like,
Mm.
well, I don't have time for that. Like, I do this at work or whatever. And I think it took genuinely the pandemic. And then in
Mm.
2020, The Last of Us Part 2 came out. And
Oh
one of
yeah.
the main characters, Abby, is this buff, like
She's
buff,
jacked.
strong woman. Yes, she's jacked. And I was like,
Let's
like,
go.
I want that. I
Yes.
want that. And that's like end goal. Like I know it's gonna take years,
Sure.
but end goal, you know?
She's got triceps like a
Um
diesel truck, dude. She's fucking huge. It's awesome.
I And so it was like that. And then meeting you and your fitness and,
Mhm.
how it all tied together because that game came out in June of 2020 and we had been, gaming together and whatnot.
Yeah, for
And
a
I
couple
think that
months.
was around the time I may have like joined in and tried your fitness and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it was definitely rocky because I was
Yeah.
like very low self-esteem, like,
Mm.
oh, I'm weak. Oh, I can't run very well. Oh, my asthma. Like, I felt like I was blaming so many other things.
Oh.
And like with the excuses of like, oh, I just can't do it. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what it was, but like at some point working with you, you did something that like shifted as I like saw slowly how I was getting stronger, like probably after a year. Like I was getting
Mm.
stronger and I was running longer and I was running faster. And I was like, wait a second.
Is this working?
Yeah,
Yeah.
wait a second.
Yeah.
And now I'm obsessed.
You love the running. You love the sprinting. I make sure to put that into your programming whenever I get the chance, because every time there's sprints, you're commenting on the section in Train Heroic like, yes, look, yeah, like all caps, I love it, flame emojis, let's
Let's
go.
go.
Yeah, dude. Just loves to, and that's part of what I enjoy so much about programming for you specifically, Bree, is that I know I can throw all this cool stuff at you, and you're just gonna like eat it up because you like that challenge, you like to go hard, you like to lift heavy, and that's a lot of fun as a coach to program for. So let's see. What do you get out of working out now? And how would you say it's been different? Because obviously, when you're training beforehand, like high school and college, like you said, like martial arts, like a lot of the how do I say it? Like the way I program, the thought processes I have about coaching and fitness overall is very much informed and based in martial arts training. Like your fitness should be useful in a fight, essentially, sort of like my bottom line. But that's still obvious, like lifting weights or sprinting in a gym is going to be very different from doing judo or Muay Thai. So, what do you get out of working out now as someone who already has a very physical job that maybe is a little bit different than you were beforehand?
I think so. Definitely, when I was younger, the martial arts was a 10 out of 10 way to let out some anger.
Sure.
I had like been going through it, the
Hmm.
trauma, and that was a great way for that release. But it's great to like looking at it full circle of like I, you know, I've worked on myself and whatnot, and it's no longer a release of anger, but
Hmm.
it's like the release of like the serotonin or dopamine, with
For
how you
sure.
feel. Like I, for the longest time, had never experienced runner's high, and I could not
Right.
understand. Like, what do you mean you're running and it feels amazing? Like, I don't understand.
I run and it feels bad. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, when I had finally gotten my first like runner's high, I was like, oh, this is what they're
Yeah,
talking
this is
about.
chasing that dragon now. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like that feeling of like it's a release, but it's
Hmm.
not a release of like anger anymore because I'm not as angry as I used to be, but a
Sure.
release of like letting myself feel good and knowing
Hmm.
that what I'm doing is allowing me to be better and feel better later on. Because I know when I have days when I don't work out, even when I have a physically demanding day at
You
work,
do, yes.
I'm still like, yeah, but I didn't go for a run, or I'm like,
Yeah.
but I like didn't get to go lift weights or whatever. But like
Hmm.
literally the other day at work, we were setting up this truss structure that was on these crank up stands
Hmm.
instead of being like motorized from the ceiling. And the way that you crank it is literally like you're like cranking like a milk, like you're making milk, right? Or you're
Okay.
making cream or butter, like you're just
Right.
cranking.
Yes.
But the problem is that we like however they had balanced out the weight was incorrect. So
Oh.
my crank stand
Yeah.
had the most weight.
God, of course.
And I'm just like pushing and like my back's into it and
Yeah.
my arms and everything. And everybody's like, do you want to switch? Do you want to switch? And I'm like, no, because I
No.
need to go to the gym.
Right. I
Like,
could
no,
do
I
it.
need to. But then finishing it, and I get
Yeah.
to like walk around to the other side and see how it's all up in the air. I'm like, oh my gosh, I did that. And it's that like satisfying feeling of like your hard work pays off. Even
Yeah.
like with working out, it wasn't immediate. It took a very long
Right.
time.
Yeah.
But sometimes at work, it's like immediate.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's like you work for a really long time and you see and feel almost no change until all of a sudden it's like immediate results.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like something
absolutely.
like it's like a switch flips or something like that. Well, that's good. That's I really like that. So you do have a physically demanding job, as we've kind of talked about a little bit already here, and it keeps you really busy, especially for the last few years. I feel like you kind of struck out on your own. You do like contractor work, so you got to fly and travel a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
for your
Yeah.
work, and that does sort of throw a monkey wrench into like the ability to regularly get scheduled workouts in. But despite that, whenever you have the chance, you are very consistent with it. Can you tell us a little bit about like what your mindset is approaching? Like you said, like I missed my session for today, whatever, but there's always tomorrow. Or like, how do you get back on that horse? Because I think that's something a lot of people struggle with is sort of being able to find time with a really busy schedule.
Yeah, I think it's important that I truly think working out in the morning is the best time to work
Mm,
out, getting it to be the first thing that you can do, because if you can achieve, like, the runner's high or, like, just you kinda get, like, a high from lifting weights and
totally.
stuff, I would say, and being able to achieve that in the morning, I think really just boosts the rest of your day.
Yeah.
Um, as much as, like, getting up really early is terrible.
Yeah.
Especially because I do have days where it's like, oh, I get home and it's like after midnight and I have to be at
Yeah.
work at 7 in the morning the next day. No, I'm not going to work out, but I'll leave it to like later on. However, I think like if you have, say you're like a little bit busier, I know I had an office job for a very brief amount of time where I
Mhm.
had to be at work at like 8 in the morning. I would still get up like or I think I got up at like 5 in the morning to then go to the gym and go work out and then get ready and go to work and stuff.
Yeah.
I just think it's so, I don't know, just doing it in the morning feels so much better than at night because working out leaves you so
Mhm.
energized. And being able to balance it is really hard because I essentially have to look at my schedule and how far out and how long the days are going to be and
Oh
think
yeah.
like I don't want to hurt myself or go too far,
Mhm.
which is super important to keep in mind. Um, but I know that I will feel better mentally if, hey, like, I had literally 2 weeks ago, I worked like 10 to 16-hour days or whatever. And
Ugh.
so I didn't work out. Yeah, I didn't work out
Yeah.
at all that week.
That's
And
fair.
then yeah, I let myself rest though. And then I was
Mhm.
like, all right, let's go back in. And I wasn't 100%. And I said that in the chat, like I
Yeah.
wasn't really feeling it, but I did a walk and it was better than
Yep.
nothing, which I think is super important. Like it's the littlest thing feels so much better than just like letting yourself feel like, I don't know, a piece of garbage. You know what I
Totally.
mean?
I do. Yeah, that's like I said, that's so common. And I think that's something we've talked a lot about in our coaching is like the all or nothing mindset, the very black and white thinking where it's like if I do this, I'm a good person. If I miss one day, I'm a piece of shit forever. And that's
Yeah.
just not really that's not how
Yeah.
reality actually is.
Yeah.
But I think like to speak to your point, I think it is really a very powerful tool to just like do anything and like check that box because even if we are struggling, like a lot of people do with that all or nothing thinking, it's still something and it
Mhm.
counts. You check the box. Technically, you are correct, which is the best kind of correct. Yes, I did exercise today by going on a 20-minute walk on a treadmill and listening to a podcast or listening to an audiobook or whatever. That's still
Yeah.
exercise. That still counts. You're still moving forward. Unless you're on a treadmill, then you're literally standing in place.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think it's like you can use little things at home. Like, did
Mm,
you vacuum? Why not vacuum? Like, that's a workout. Why not sweep
totally.
or like washing dishes? Like, you just getting that movement in instead of like sitting around, that sort of thing
Yeah.
I think it's so important. Also, you can feel like achieved, like, hey, I vacuumed.
Right? It counts as steps. If you got the little tracker watch that tracks your every movement and thought,
Exactly.
then it's just like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
that was 100 extra steps just by vacuuming and checking the stairs, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to talk a little bit about like diet stuff because that's a huge part of fitness, and I know that your diet is very particular, like by necessity.
Yeah.
How? Because something we've talked about a lot is like getting protein in and like balancing carbs and stuff like that, and like nutrition coaching isn't like a huge focus of like my coaching style. We go into it and I can give like advice and plans and things like that, but I'm not someone who gives like meal plans or whatever. But with a food path that is as restricted as yours, we've had to get a little bit creative about it. So can you tell me a little bit about how like you creatively find ways to get protein in meals that are good and filling and still fuel your workouts or your very physical job?
I First I go insane. Is what I have to
Yeah,
do.
fair enough.
Um, but really, like, being focused, protein shake, 10 out of 10.
Mm,
Like, I even feel like personally, if you don't work out that day, but you still have like a protein shake during the day, I think it's super important, especially for me because if you don't know my dietary restrictions, I have celiac disease, so I have to eat gluten free. But I also have a allergy to chicken, and it's not essentially like an allergy. Like if I'm near it, I'll go into anaphylactic shock, or if I eat it, I'll go into anaphylactic shock.
right.
It's more so along the lines of there is a protein in the muscle and meat of chicken that
Hmm.
my body thinks is attacking me, so my body like reacts horribly. It's
Right.
kind of like there can be people who can get Lyme's disease and then they can no longer eat red meat. Um,
Really?
it's a set. Yes, yeah,
What?
yeah, yeah. So it's essentially that, but it's
Okay.
with chicken
But for chicken.
instead.
Huh.
And so, which is a bummer because one, chicken
Yes.
is really cheap, and
Yeah.
two, it has such good protein.
Yeah, that sucks.
But really, like we just eat a lot more of like a red meat diet. We'll
Hmm.
eat a lot more of that. We also focus a lot on fish. We'll eat fish
Oh,
and stuff. I feel like people really like undermine how much protein can be in fish if you really like stack it up, you know?
totally.
And then just focusing whenever I'm out and about and traveling for work,
Yeah.
I really, really try to focus on meat heavy meals and
Mm.
that sort of thing, but still getting like my vegetables and fruits. And I eat a lot of rice and I love rice, which is
Oh, okay.
great.
Yeah.
My thing is I personally don't like gluten-free noodles. So we don't really eat noodles, but
Sure.
I'll eat rice. I'll eat so much rice.
Can you drop some like insider knowledge on us for like getting those protein heavy meals while traveling? Because I know that's something a lot of other clients have had trouble with in the past.
Honestly, researching ahead. So if you know
Mm.
that the work trip is coming up and you know where your hotel is or like the basis of where you'll be, research all of the restaurants, all of the places nearby. And the best part is that sometimes you can find more health focused places. So
Oh.
like, you know how we have nautical bowls and they have
Hmm.
their protein bowls? You could find like a Smoothie King potentially, and they
Oh,
have
sure.
protein smoothies. They have a lot of meals and wraps and stuff that can be protein heavy if you can eat those. Um, and other places like that. Like I can't eat at Panera, but I know that like
Mm.
Panera has options that like are very protein heavy. And really focusing on that. Like
Yeah.
I know to when I go to the airport, which is where I live, I also will go to Starbucks and they have their egg bites. And honestly, those egg bites
Oh,
have a lot of
sure.
protein in them because they'll
Yeah.
have like some bacon in it and there's protein in that, or they have their potato one, which you get like your, you know, your egg protein and then
Hmm.
your carb from
Your
your
potato protein.
potato. Yeah. And
Potato
just
teas.
that, like,
Yeah.
yeah, your potato teas. Yeah, just honestly researching ahead of time. And I am so used to doing it because I have to all the time,
Sure.
constantly. Like, even eating in Minnesota, I mean, thankfully, where I live, there's so many options that are safe for me and have a
Right.
ton of protein options. But, like, in advance, like, oh, a friend wants to go here. I'm like, hold on, let me look up the menu.
Yeah. Gotta do the
Just
homework
getting
first.
that into habit. Yeah, doing your homework ahead of time. It's so important because then you're not like the worst part is being in your hotel room and you're tired. You had a whole day of travel. You
Yeah.
don't know what to eat. You don't know what to DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you research it in advance, then you know and you have a list and you can work on it that way. And never ever discount the little options the hotels have. It might be super expensive, but
Sure.
sometimes they have some really good protein bars.
Oh, okay. Like in the little mini bar kind of thing?
It's kind of like sometimes they have their little like I don't maybe like their little store where you
Oh,
could get
yeah.
like those they'll have snacks and stuff there and sometimes they have some protein bars or kind bars or something. Oh,
Dude, have you seen
so good.
I think it's a TikTok of the guy. It's like someone's dad is like downstairs at the hotel bar. And he's like, yeah, they just got all these M&Ms and M's and shit. That's like for free. He's like on the phone with his son. He's like, you gotta come down here. They got like Mars bars and like shakes for free. And he's trying to walk out, and the guy's like, sir, you owe us like $37, and it's like four candy bars. He's like, what the fuck?
I mean, it is
These
so
aren't free.
expensive, but sometimes if you're
Right.
desperate, you just want like because nuts are a really great source of protein too. So getting like
Hmm.
granola bars and stuff. Also, you can bring that stuff with you. I have taken it through my carry-on. I've taken it through my check bag.
Yeah.
TSA will not hunt you down or attack you or
They don't
rip
care.
you.
They don't care about your power bar or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, oh, sick gains. Gotta check it for bringing these guns on the flight, bro. It's your arms.
Yeah.
Great. Well, you know what? That's a really good. Thank you, Bree, for being so smart and for sharing that smartness with us today. What about? So I want to talk a little bit about coaching because I talk about my fitness stuff all the time on the show. Obviously, it's the RF Fitness podcast. I probably talk to death about my side of things. Having you on is sort of like the first time I get to talk to someone who's been on the client side the whole time. And you've done a lot of client side stuff with me. We've done one-on-one training. We've done, I believe, the large group training where we did like the dojo or the
Mhm.
ludus, and we've done quest groups for the last year or so here. So can you tell us a little bit about like how that experience has been for you, how each one feels different, and like what you like about them, specifically quest groups, because that's coming
Yeah.
up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I love I love the group, like the quest groups and whatnot
Hmm.
a lot. I think it's a great way for like first we all get to know each other and what we're doing and we get to like boast about what we're doing. But also when one of us is feeling super down, the rest of us are all in the Discord,
Yeah,
like, no, you can do it,
it's
like
very
you
cool.
got this, like you can do it. And it's like it's so motivating because sometimes like I think a lot of people think that fitness is only in person in the gym with everybody right there.
Mm,
And so it's a really unique way of like you're bringing everybody in their own fitness and their own skills and their own abilities, but they're at home, they're in their comfort, they're able to do it,
yeah,
and you still have a group of people cheering you on. I think that's one of the best things about it. And the one on one fitness is really great because I know that you are super focused and attuned to the people you're working with. Like, you do a really good job at like focusing specifically on the client you are working with
hmm,
and like you aren't like, oh, here's just a basic, like, I made this
sure.
for my 7 other one-on-one clients. Like, you're
Right, yeah.
very like, oh, I've made this specifically to you and your skills. And, if we have worked together, you kind of bring that back up
Hmm.
and, make sure it's implemented. Or if you've never worked with them before and you don't know who they are, like, you're really good at trying to get a feeler of like, well, how comfortable are you? Like, let's try something a little hard. And then you take their notes and you like just immediately make an adjustment.
Yeah,
And so both of them are really great. I think with the community aspect, I really like the quest groups. And with the one-on-one is like really that like attention to detail that you have
yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah, and what's I think really magic about the quest groups is that you still get a lot of that level of focus with the programming itself and the attention to detail because it's intentionally a small group for a
Yeah.
limited amount of time. It's only 8 weeks. So for me, because like the big thing coaching side is like making that programming does take a while because I do think about it really hard for every single person and it's not cookie cutter. But because the quest group is so small, I can afford to do that over the course of like a week or two and get everybody set up and ready to go. And from there on, it's just making the changes, like you said, on the fly. And we have this amazing community. Everyone's so hyped up, even if they're not like an active Questie,
Yeah.
they're jumping in, throwing some gifts and some memes into the chat and being very,
Yeah.
very supportive, which I've been very. I'm just so happy with that. You guys kick
Oh
ass so
yeah.
much. It's so cool.
I
Yeah,
really like when it's like the funny gifts. Those are my favorite.
yeah.
Those are always a good one.
So if you guys don't know, Quest Groups is my small group online coaching cadre that runs in 8 week long seasons. We just ended the New Year's season here of 2025. The spring season is coming up. We kicked that off on Sunday. I should know this off the top of my head. Normally it's right in front of me. Look at me go. What a businessman. Sunday the
Oh,
23rd. It is open for registration right now. From now through this weekend, the 15th, there is a $25 early bird registration discount. After that's full price, unless you can give me a really good argument, why not? Spoiler alert, you can't. But you can sign up. People have signed up like the day after we kick off, so I'm not super slam the door in your face about it. But new season's coming up. If you want to reap the rewards of your own hard work and stand on the shoulders of giants and activate my experience in the field, now's the perfect time to do that. But I want to talk about something that I have not a huge idea of what's going on, but I want to know more about. Bree, you've founded a convention, right? Or you're running. Tell me more about, it's a Bookish Fest, right?
So it's called Midwest Bookish Fest.
Okay.
I founded it. I am running it. I am letting it take up 100% of my brain space all the time.
Yeah.
It's constantly what I think about. So it's Midwest Bookish Fest. It is a book festival that'll be held in June 27th to 29th of
You didn't have to look at that. You just knew it off the top of your head. That's what that's what a professional does. They know the dates of their events.
Everything. No. If I can't remember, there's something wrong.
Right.
It'll be at the Minneapolis Marriott West from June 27th to 29th of this year. Yes. I have been planning this event since June of 2023.
Wow.
I have been preparing for it, and it essentially was like, it was this little idea, this little baby that I was having this conversation with a friend, and I was like, like all of these other book events, they go to Chicago or they go to Milwaukee, and they never come to Minneapolis. Why? Why don't they come here? There's such a huge book community here. We have so many local independent bookstores. We have so many, there's a lot of local authors here that people don't realize, which blows my mind. Every day I learn that another really big author is local. I'm like, who would have thought? And it's just like the community, and everybody's so kind and so great. And the whole focus at the beginning was like, I want to bring this convention to Minneapolis. I want to make it accessible for people who live in the Dakotas or in Iowa and more of that side of the Midwest, because I feel like they just get ignored, Like for us, Chicago's like a 6-hour drive, but for them, it could be so much farther. And that can be really hard for a lot of people to make those decisions. And then it just kind of kept blossoming and blooming. And my biggest thing is that I want it to be a good time. First off, I want it to be a great time. But I want it to be this really inclusive, financially stress-free event for the authors attending, because a lot of these other book events, they charge authors a table fee, and they're generally in the multiple hundreds of dollars. And it's a way for the event runners to fund their event and whatnot. Sure. And kudos to them. I feel like personally, there's a lot of authors who can't attend those kinds of events due to the cost, because you have to buy a hotel, you have to get your airfare. Oh, yeah. You have to do all of that. And so we don't charge a table fee for our authors. They come, they only have to pay for their hotel. They only have to pay for the flights if they need it. Yeah. And then we try to make it so that we can open up the door for authors who may have never been able to go to an event before, because I feel like they deserve to reach their readers, which then lets the readers have a broader experience at the event itself with authors they may have never been able to meet before. Who, even if the attendee goes to multiple different events, hey, maybe we have one author who hasn't been able to go to any of these events due to cost, but they can come to ours, and now that attendee has that opportunity. And it's a win-win in every scenario of trying to make these connections and build these bridges for readers to meet new authors and authors to meet new readers, vice versa. And the event itself, not even having, or only having, we'll have author signings. So there'll be two sessions where there'll be author signings where you get to meet the authors, get a book, get the book signed, have that kind of moment with them. But we're also going to be having panels, and some of them are going to be pretty funny. I'm very excited. If you are a reader, there are some great topics in books, and one of my favorite ones that I actually haven't announced to the public at all is we're calling it Only Smut. And
what is that about?
Just so, if you don't know what smut is, it's essentially some books that include sexual intercourse, and and but it's a community and a whole thing in itself that I feel like it needs to be discussed. Yeah, and so we'll have that where Only Smut is like a play on OnlyFans.
Yes.
So it'll be, with authors that do have open door romance in their book. But we
Mm.
also will have a different panel called Only Monsters that
Oh
discusses
no.
monster romance.
Okay.
And that sort of thing, because that's blooming in the
Sure.
industry, and it's like great to see how excited people are about those
Yeah.
things. Um, and the authors are so kind and they're so funny.
You
Like,
would have to have a
I'm
pretty
very
good sense of
excited.
humor, I feel like, to write some of this stuff. Yeah.
They're so wonderful. I love working with them. And they're just so funny. And having that, but we'll also have more serious panels. One of them is going to be called, and so a lot of the names are also kind of twists of D&D because of my love for D&D.
Of
So
course.
one of the panels is going to be called "How do you want to do this?"
Nice.
Indie versus traditional versus hybrid publishing for authors,
Oh.
because there's different aspects in publishing where
Mhm.
some are independently published, so they self-publish all their own stuff. They do all of the work themselves.
Yeah.
Some are traditionally published where they have a contractor with a publishing company who handles a bunch of the stuff. They really just write the book, make the focus, and have a little bit of say. And then there's hybrid authors who do both. They have contracts, but then they also have their own self-published books.
Mm.
And so kind of educational panels with authors who can give a really good insight for aspiring readers and whatnot and what they want to see. Um, and that is one aspect. And
Yeah.
then we have, well, the masquerade. We're going to have a really big party at the end of the night.
Dope. Okay.
You dressing up is encouraged, not required, but
Yeah.
highly encouraged. It's called our Moonlit Magic Masquerade.
Ooh.
And we have a wonderful DJ. I'm very excited for her. We'll have a photo booth there. We'll have two bars. You can get some custom cocktails and mocktails
What up?
from our attending authors who are creating and sort of designing these ideas of these drinks that will be served.
Oh,
I'm
cool.
super excited to see what they come up with. And then we also have a tea party where that's more of our
Fun.
intimate, like sit down, have some
Mm.
time with your authors, have a chat with them, get to know them more. And we'll have
Oh,
some trivia
cool.
in the tea party. I'm very excited. It'll
Love
be
some
tea
trivia.
themed. Yeah, it'll be tea themed
Okay.
with books, because a lot of books also mention tea and whatnot. So we'll kind
Sure.
of bring that influence in there. But then we'll have all just like regular book trivia
Yeah.
games that we'll be hosting, tons of prizes. The authors that I'm working with have been so kind of giving gifts for the trivia prizes.
Oh,
And
that is nice.
it's just like the prizes just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm so excited.
So is there like a focus on a particular genre or type of book here for audience members to
No.
enjoy?
So it's all genres. If you love all genres, there's definitely a book there for you.
Yeah.
We have romance, we have romantasy, we have fantasy,
Mhm.
we have horror, there's
Oh.
supernatural, there's sci-fi. There's all sorts, which I really love too, because I think when you focus on one genre for an event, you bring a lot of people that love that, but maybe like somebody really loves romance books and then they pick up, say, a supernatural book and they're like, hey, I never would have picked this up before. Check out
Yeah.
like this new author that I just found out, that sort of thing. So you kind of can help broaden, readers' perspectives and
Mhm.
books and whatnot.
So this is really an event that's for, it sounds like it's for authors and readers and prospective authors and prospective readers, really
Yeah.
anyone who has even like a passing interest in like not the literary world, but just like literature and reading overall.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
A little something for everybody.
Oh yeah.
And where can
It's
people learn
definitely
more?
great. So you can check out our website, midwestbookishfest.com. You can follow us on Instagram for latest updates. We have a Facebook page. We have a Facebook event page. If you want to buy tickets, all the links are available, prices and whatnot. We do offer payment plans for pricing if need be, if
Oh, that's nice.
whenever you buy your ticket. That's kind of one of my favorite things that we do offer, because I feel like having, financially stress-free
Yeah.
for authors, but also for readers, because I know that our base ticket where you can access everything is $200, and I
Mhm.
know that's a lot of money. So I was super like, I really like that we're able to offer the payment plan, because some people like that's a little bit less stress
Sure.
on them
Yeah.
in their life and how it's going.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. It's like you said, there's a focus on accessibility here. I feel like, and that's
Oh
great.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, Brie, I think that's everything I wanted to drill you about. Did you have anything else that you wanted to ask or say to the audience, to the internet?
I don't think so. I think your questions were great. I think
Thank you.
really to anybody, yeah, to anybody listening who has never worked with Rob before, you need to get on it. Really, I think.
Thanks.
And I know fitness is hard. I know, like, I
Mm.
always tell people that when they're starting, I'm always like, you're not gonna have a good time. Let's be honest, okay? Like,
Yeah.
let's be blunt. Like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna have a good time and you're not
Mm.
gonna enjoy this for a while. But the thing is that consistency and continuing to keep going, having a community of people that are here for you, that will boost you up, that will keep you going, is so, so important because you are
Mm.
going to have terrible days where you don't want to go work out or you feel like your 20-minute walk on the treadmill was worthless
Yeah,
or
true that, man. Been
whatever.
there.
But like having the community and having the people there to support you is so important. And I feel like what Rob has built and everybody in the community has been so wonderful. Like
Oh,
I
great.
would
Thank you.
not I would not be here obsessed with going on runs or like lifting weights. Literally yesterday I well, it wasn't yesterday. So 2 days ago, I decided to do back squats, and I did 30 back squats
Damn.
with 120 pounds.
That's what's up.
And then I went for a run yesterday, which
Oof.
also I woke up.
Okay.
I was like, oh god, I loved it though. Like I
Yeah.
was still loving it, but I definitely was like, oh man, I should have listened to Rob because you've told me before.
Well, yeah. But you do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Bree. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to have you on. Hopefully, we can get some more clients on here, and I'm sure if people love the show, we can get you on again. We can talk Dungeons and Dragons some more sometime. How about that?
Heck yeah.
Awesome.
I can sit here and convince you for an hour why you should play a
I was just
sorcerer.
gonna say, if you talk to me about fucking casters, dude, I swear to God. I almost played a cleric in our upcoming one, but I think I'm gonna go with the rogue instead. I'm playing a bard in the Baldur's Gate game we're doing with some of the other people.
See, you're working on it.
That's as
You're
close as
getting
I'll get. I'm gonna dip my toe in.
there. But well, I'll get you. I'll get you there. We'll
We'll
get
get
there.
to that. All right. This has been the RF Fitness Podcast. Yes, I am available for online coaching. To find out if it's right for you, head to rffitness.net. That's rffitness.net, and then scroll all the way to the bottom of that green page to see what kind of coaching I offer. You should then do the client application and hit join the party to jump into our community Discord server for free. Our theme music is Funk AF by Everett Ullman, distributed by YouTube Studios. Thank you for listening, everyone, and as always, keep questing! Yay!